All right. We are properly moisturized here. As you know, it gets very hot in Florida. You got to have all the creams on. First, you need just a nice light face wash, then some hyaluronic serum, possibly some vitamin C serum, maybe some niacin serum. And then you can go with a light moisturizer or a heavier one. Sometimes, like if you're up north, you might want to go with just a full-blown cream. That's going to keep you really juicy. And that's just your morning routine. Then at night or before you go out, you may need a little bit of a face mask, maybe like a charcoal face mask. I like a Dead Sea mud mask. And then, of course, get into the steamer, let loose your pores, wash your face. You're going to have to use different serums now. Like before I go out, I like to go with hyaluronic serum, then a vitamin C serum, kind of brighten your skin. And then, very kind of light matte moisturizer, so you're not looking all greasy. But that's like if you're just going out and about. But if you're like going to like go to sleep, then you're going to have like a whole different nighttime routine with much deeper type of creams. You want to really go with the heavy cream at nighttime because it's just you. So, you're going to light wash your face, maybe use a little Ursa Major toner. They got a nice toner. It's mostly like just lemon water and some rose. And then you're going to go in really with like more, you could use even a retinol serum. You could do these kind of things. And that's really going to keep you fresh and looking good. The worst thing that you want to do is make a bunch of money in the stock market and get rich and look old. I mean, that would be the worst thing to do. So while you are working on getting rich, you got to build up your face, got to build up the guns. Then finally, you'll have your monies, but then you'll still be looking young. So then you'll get the women's. And when you get the women's, that kind of gets you going. So then it like really kind of motivates you to get more monies. And then you get the more monies. And then that motivates you to do a little bit more exercise, more face creams, and that'll get you the more women's. And that motivates you to get the more monies. And so it ends up a never-ending circle of awesomeness. But first of all, it starts with these creams. All right? It starts with these creams. You want to start using the creams right now. You got to go with at least a 5-6 step process. And then, we'll see how you're looking. We'll see how you're looking. All right, now let's get back into stocks. You guys distract me today. I messed up, but we got a light open in the market, only down 2.2%. We had a big trend day in the market yesterday, but we ended up just kind of running into resistance. So today will be an interesting day because, if we go red to green here, then we'll kind of remount over these two moving averages, and maybe that sets us, back into the top of the range. And that's what we are in right now. There's no real, we're not really in a short-term, long-term downtrend or uptrend right now. If you look here, like see how your MAs are all just flattened out here. 200-day moving average flattened out, 59 kind of down, 20 pointing up. So you have different things that are happening here, like your short and intermediate and long-term trends are all starting to dissect, which really just means that you're in a trendless environment. Most likely we're going to get just a big nasty range for a long period of time, really till some kind of catalyst kind of probably propels us out of it. Beyond like interest rates and stuff, right? We have finally a quantitative tightening environment, which is we haven't had for quite some time. So we'll see what goes on today. We are into resistance. We had kind of this one big update into resistance, and we had a trend day yesterday. So it was a little bit interesting. So on a yesterday's basis, we probably should be playing for the red to green, but like it is a little bit tricky because we are at two levels of resistance here. So we'll have to see kind of which way things turn. this has been a little bit more of a read and react market versus like, a lot of times like when you're trending, you do your homework at night and you basically will have kind of an idea what's going to happen the next day. Like, hey, if the market opens weak, I'm going to do this. Market opens strong, it's going to do this. When you get into a more wilder, rangy environment, it often can be a little bit of a read and react where, like you often might get sucked in at the open and think it's short and then it becomes long. And then when the trend sets, you just essentially have to hammer it down. I think that's probably what we'll have to do today. We're at resistance, but we had the big strength yesterday. So we have, right, like kind of a 50-50 thing right there. And we'll have to play around that. Let's get into the earnings plays. The good things, even though the markets felt a little bit slow the last few days, we had a nice trend down, nice trend up. So we've had a tradable range. It's been really the last kind of like 3-4 days where it's been feeling like maybe there's not as much opportunity. That's okay. Like when you're in a rangy environment, like those things will happen. The big thing is like, in a week from now, right? Earnings season will start. Alcoa always kicks off earnings season. Things will speed up around there. Like even if the actual indexes don't speed up, what you'll have is individual stocks blowing out or blowing up on their earnings. And so we'll have a different bucket of plays to do beyond, kind of your regular stuff. Let's take a look and see like what's going on the PR side and see if we've got anything. Donnie Hensley, what up, baby? Hey, this Dolphin's got net loss widens, revenue increases, blah, blah, blah. Dolphin's basically like a makeshift NFT company. That's what it was trying to get labeled as. I mean, it's got a big push in volume today. This is like one of those stocks, like the chart's not that good, but like it really only takes a couple of these pumpers to get this thing going. This is not my particular type of play, but I am slightly interested in it just because of the name, like Dolphin Entertainment. Just fucking sounds cool. Like, hey, what'd you trade today? Dolphin Entertainment. Dolphin Entertainment. The name I mean, that's right there. Like, that right there is worth playing, ain't it? Not my particular flavor, but we'll see what's going on. Rite Aid, adjusted loss widens while revenue rises, issues. How do you fucking lose money in a drugstore? I've been to CVS. I mean, people are dropping, you can drop 100, you think you go to CVS and all you're getting is some Plan B and maybe some shave oil. And next thing you know, like you've blown out there, like and spent $100. How did that happen? Right? How did that happen? I don't understand how these people can lose money, but that's where we're at. Hey, some of this, some of these ones, like it's kind of running right into resistance. We'll have to keep an eye on this one. I'd actually add this to the list because there's not that many of these stocks that are like left on the dead bottoms. And sometimes when they blow out on their earnings, they can get picked up. I'd add Rite Aid for now. Arrogance. And this one's going to probably have no liquidity on it. Genus to penis. Pass. You know what? This thing is just untradeable. So like if you're looking, like sometimes you may see like a hot IPO or a stock that you're interested in. Always take a look at the intraday chart. Like if this thing has got like wicks all over it, we'd like to think that we're the ones that are like, I'm shorting into the wicks and, buying into the wicks down. It never really ends up working like that. That's usually where you just get fucking shaken out. It's just untradeable. I get loose off of that. Veru had a big push into the close. You already got like 10 million shares in volume today in the morning. This has probably got, it did make a run into the 20s last year. You could probably keep rolling into this. To me, like this is you're starting to get into that nice potential. Like it's probably going to have some range today. And it's actually easy to borrow. So, you can actually, if this thing gets bonkers, like, you'll be able to get borrows on this pretty easy. They even had it on eSlut yesterday. That's when like it's easy to borrow. If it holds this kind of, see this level right here, from the previous day, like you kind of got your 14.4, 14.50. If it starts holding into that, that's where you could probably come back in for like maybe a dip buy or something like that. not my exact flavor, but whatever. To each his own. Some people like butts, some people don't like them. Here we go. Yeah, keep an eye on this one, see if it pulls back. You got the liquidity's already there. Most likely it's a liquidity trap at some point. But for now, like you could probably keep playing that. Not my particular flavor. Elon Musk aggressive hostile bid for Twitter. That's probably some fucking bullshit news. Most likely an exit plan, if anything. It's most likely is how it plays off. You make an offer up here, to Twitter board will reject it, tell him to fuck off, and then he'll end up dumping his shares up there, and everybody be like, oh shit, and he'll be like, oh, I'm up, and then the thing will tank. So this is most likely, these buyout things. You can play them back and forth, but there will be shakeout. It'll probably have some shakeouts in it. The odds of him actually buying something out is minimal. I mean, you're like trying to send people to Mars, like you give a shit about Twitter. Taiwan semiconductor factory. Beaky. So these Chinese stocks are just doing this every day. Like they gap up, they gap down. They're just stuck in a big, nasty little range. All the Chinese stocks, they had that news out that maybe China's going to cooperate with some of the auditing requirements so they don't get delisted. But it ended up being a nothing burger. Like, it popped for a few days and now they're just stuck in this range. And it's like one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down. And Baba's actually still bleeding off. It's been bleeding off for days. So, it's something to be mindful of. I don't know if we got necessarily, I don't know if we have a play in these today or not. Did Baba have news out? The fucking TC 2006. China, Garage and Watchdog. For discipline in among the top states and blah, 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 da, 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 da. And it's a nothing burger. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be anything that hot. I'd probably leave that alone for now. Let's see if we got anything on the downside. Hey, Donnie Hensley, how's business? GXO, not enough liquidity. Jump. Yes, this is open week after the big push. This thing to me has been a bitch to trade fast. All right, so let's get back into the game plan here. So we got two options. You know what? We'll have to see how the open plays out. If the market goes red to green and we start to take out these kind of levels over here, then that's going to tell us we got to get on the long side today. If we just end up stalling up at this resistance, like you start to trend its way down. So basically, what we'd need to see is most likely, like we get a spike down, and then there'll be like a little bit of an opening range the first few minutes. If we take that out, then we know like, okay, we're going to come back into the bottom of this range or towards the bottom of this range. We don't know if that's the case, but right, we're basically just sitting here, right, in kind of a mini 2-3 day range while we're in a much larger, right, yearly range. Like we've been stuck in range since January. It's bear market trading tactics, but most really it's range trading for the most part with just things bleeding off. So that'll be something. And the reason for this is that this drop was so weak, so big that most of the stocks here, even though the market was down maybe 20%, most of the stocks are down 70, 80, 90%, especially in the tech side. So you just don't have the range that you were having like a month or two ago. A lot of these damn things are just so cheap. They're just not moving around as much as they were. So now you're starting to get a little bit of that slower action and you're seeing it. We were going 3 weeks ago, we were making 50, 60 trades a day in the chat room, right? Fucking 2 days ago, we had like 3. So that's like just the nature of kind of when the ranges contract, the ATRs contract, then the opportunities to really be back and forth sashaying around is also contracts. And so when earnings season starts up, then we'll have the opportunity to find possibly some new market leaders or some new market faders, and that'll give us a little bit more opportunity to get into these. Let's get back into some of these plays. Any dip on this crowd, I think we want to play. Like you finally remounted over your 200-day moving average. This has got a really nice chart. You know what? Rivian had a big day yesterday, and you could throw darts on all these stocks that had a big day yesterday. But this is another one. If the market's going to actually go red to green, then this one, you know, we could take it out over this range over here. So if you look at like more of a 30-minute chart, right, you have kind of like a little bit of bottoming action on the 30-minute chart. Keep an eye on this. And you know what? This thing likes to push out of nowhere. You'll see it hanging, and then, you know, you'll see it hanging, and then all of a sudden, like it just shoves out. So keep an eye on this level over here. I think that that's going to have yourselves, you know, we could have ourselves some good old-fashioned God-fearing Christian fun on that. Yeah, I think this NVIDIA still got some room to go here. You got, you know, till you run into any resistance, you got the gap fill till 231. So I think that's probably the play on this one. You can see right here, right? Your gap fills to about 231, and it's still got a little bit of room till the MAs. Obviously, it's got very, very extended to the downside. So we're still theoretically a little bit oversold. I think that if we can get something going over here, so if you're looking kind of at a, you know, 10, 15, 30-minute chart, right? This 225 will be, 225.50 will be something. You still want to wait for, right, an intraday pattern. But what you want to do is just, you want to mark out your levels, and then you want to start looking for, right, your setups right within those levels. And that's when you'll be able to have, you know, that's when you'll have good timing in terms of, you know, your trade setup. You know, when we don't wait for that, what usually happens, right, we end up getting chopped up. So it's not just enough to have like some kind of pattern or trading setup, but you really want to like match it to where the levels of supply and demand are. Usually when we're trading bad, we're of course chasing or over trading, but worse than that, what we're actually usually doing is we're not mindful of the locations of where we need to actually deploy, you know, said setup. We're just doing patterns and patterns and patterns without really thinking about where the supply and demand is coming from. And usually that happens from just a little bit of a lack of preparation. You know, I've been there too. You go on a huge bender, right? Like you're not probably sitting up at night drawing out all your levels and, right, seeing things on a 15, 30-minute chart, hourly chart, right? So you don't have, you know, like a lot of times you just wake up, you turn on your gappers, you have your 5 or 6 favorite stocks you trade, you take a couple from some people in the chat room, and then you wake up and you're like, okay, oh, this stock gapped up, I'm going to do opening range breakout on it. This stock gapped down, I'm going to do quick pullback buy on it. This stock did this, I'm going to do flag on it. But because you didn't really take a deep dive into like the names, then what ends up happening is like you don't really know the sweet spots of where you need to deploy those strategies. And so then the strategies end up being bumped. You know, your strategy is just a strategy, but you still have to do the old tried and true of trading them around support, resistance, supply, demand levels, and then also, of course, matching it to the time of day. And that's when you'll have yourself some choice setups. And that's usually when my stuff fails. Like, you know, sometimes we whip in the chat room, you wake up late, you fucking get a few stocks, and right, you just start fucking shooting orbs on the thing. And then they're like, oh, that shit failed. Why? Because, right, you did it into a supply zone or so on and so forth. There's something to just mark out. When you're trading really well, you spend extra time looking at your stuff so you know where everything is. When you're not spending the time, you're just looking at patterns, but you don't know where everything is. There's a little bit of word to the wise on some of this stuff. But keep an eye on this NVIDIA. I think a lot of these things still, you know, if we've got them, then we'll do them. You know, we got NVIDIA, Rivian. We can go in with the firm. You know, we got kind of a 3-4 day zone over here too. You know, all these things are still going to look like bear flags. So that's like the key is like we really do need them to clear over some spots, you know, before we can get knee deep in them. Otherwise, it's just all bullshit because they can roll over in a hot second. You know, we can see here, right? Green day, red day, green day, red day, green day, red day. That's what range trading is in a nutshell. All dips on this nugget, I think we got to buy. You know, if you look at here, like gold, these are gold miners, right? Like you got a big breakout over here, and we are opening a little bit weak here, but I think all dips in this nugget we got to take down. It ended up being a pretty good trader yesterday. If you look at, Nugget is the 2x ETF of the GDX. You get some good range on this thing. I think we can keep rolling in with all of that too. This fro is something I got an alert set on this. If it takes out this 960, I think that's where this thing will get a little bit juicy. I don't like trading these kind of names, but it's a $2 billion companies. I don't consider small cap per se. I think that'll be fine. Oxy, we've been waiting for this breakout for quite some time. It's getting there. So what you can see here is like the range is narrowing down a little bit. As the range contracts, right, it builds up some steam and goes in. The good thing is, like, you can see, like, it's gap faded $3-4 and got bought up really hard yesterday as soon as it ran into some support. So that's the kind of price action you want to see. This Qualcomm had a lot of heat yesterday too. I don't know what was going on with it. Usually doesn't, but this is probably something we should keep an eye on, especially if NVIDIA starts to run. This one went vertical for a little bit, and that's where we want to get going on this thing. Short watch list. Run your scans about 10 minutes. I'd run a 4% breakout scan around 10:15, and see like what else you missed. It seems like in this market, there's a lot of stocks that just start pushing out of nowhere. Fuckers, not waiting for us, bastards. You know what? That's not right what just happened there. This needed to be ours. I don't like when those kind of things happen, these kind of games, but what are you going to do? Hey, another one to keep an eye on is this net. It looks like it cleared some levels yesterday and you had a really good range on it. I think that's all we really need for now. Let's get the music going. Let's get the mariachi going. Let's get the trades going. I'll be in the boom boom room. My friends, don't forget your face creams. The most important thing. Oh, man. Later, Donnie, baby. I owe you a phone call. I had Omar and Kevin and the boys over when you called, and we were running around. Peace, bro.